Hi guys, welcome back to Y&R Spoilers. The shocking secret between Jack and Billy is revealed, bringing incredibly exciting surprises to the audience. The dramatic confrontation delivers suspense. What are you expecting? Jack enters the confrontation with Billy not as an older brother wanting to win, but as someone who has seen too many loved ones slip over the edge and then convinces himself that it's just a temporary phase. He carries a very real worry. A worry stemming from small but familiar signs. Billy's eyes are sharper than usual. His eyes is too quick and too wide. His impulsive confidence seems to have found a fuel that makes him no longer listen to anyone. Jack tries to stay calm because he understands that if he turns this conversation into an argument, Billy will seize it as an excuse to explode. But that very restraint made Jack feel powerless, as if he were standing before a slammed door and only hearing the sound of someone inside smashing things. Just as Jack was reassuring himself that at least Billy had left and things were temporarily calm, he noticed a small but unusual detail. A sign that Billy was not only losing control of his emotions, but also racing against time. Jack stood still, a chill running down his spine, because a single possibility flashed through his mind. Billy was about to do something that would escalate the conflict with Victor beyond all limits, and this time, even Jack could be among those who suffer the consequences along with him. Jack began confronting him directly, without beating around the bush. He said he was worried about Billy, not about his reputation, not about his position, and certainly not about some power struggle, but about Billy himself, about this instability that was becoming more apparent each day. Jack didn't want to turn Billy into a problem to be solved, but he also couldn't pretend that everything was fine just because Billy was winning. Jack harbored a fear that was difficult to name, the fear that Billy's victory wasn't a sign of maturity, but the start of a power frenzy, one that often led to reckless decisions, self-destructive turns, and a price Billy would pay with his own sanity. But Billy didn't take it as concern. He scoffed immediately, as if Jack's anxiety was nothing more than beautifully packaged hypocrisy. Billy's tone held a mixture of its disdain and smug satisfaction, as if he'd been waiting for this moment to turn the tables. Billy asked if Jack was truly worried about him or simply upset about once again failing to defeat Victor Newman. The question wasn't just a prick to Jack's pride, it was a blow to the very meaning of the conversation, turning every word into a cheap power game. Billy deliberately drew Victor between them, like placing a mirror in front of Jack to show that everything Jack did, every worry Jack expressed, ultimately revolved around Victor, an endless rivalry between two men on opposing sides. Jack was struck at a sensitive point, but he didn't let it turn into a reaction. He understood Billy was defending himself by attacking. The mockery was like a shield. If Billy made Jack out to be jealous, a failure, a Victor-obsessed man, then Billy didn't have to face the hardest part, that he was losing control. Jack looked at Billy and realized the danger wasn't in his words, but in Billy's energy. Too hot, too fast, too ready to burn through all limits. His newfound power had made him a catalyst. It made Billy believe he finally had his life in his own hands, that he no longer needed to ask anyone's permission to exist. But at the same time, it exposed a void. Billy didn't know what to do with power other than to use it to prove that he was no longer someone to be looked down upon. The more he spoke, the more Billy exploded. He not only contradicted Jack, but unleashed a long-suppressed anger, as if Jack represented all those who had ever looked at Billy with a "be careful" or "don't overdo it, don't destroy yourself" look. Billy had heard those words his whole life, and now that he had power, he wanted to crush them. He wanted to prove that Jack's anxiety was just a fear disguised as familial affection, that Jack couldn't stand seeing Billy rise above his shadow. And when Billy said that, he was also telling a story to himself. The story that all the suspicion surrounding him was just a conspiracy to drag him down, that all the warnings were just a way for others to control him. Jack tried to pull Billy back to reality, to the fact that this outburst couldn't last forever without consequences. But Billy was now living in a moment of exaggeration, where everything was either absolute victory or betrayal. The way he looked at Jack was no longer the look of a younger brother arguing with an older brother. It was the look of someone afraid of losing what he had just gained, so ready to doubt everything. And that was what chilled Jack to the bone. It wasn't because Billy was rebelling against him, but because Billy was being swept away by his own sense of power, as if he found a temporary refuge from old insecurities, but that refuge was on an old cliff.